Good day, everyone, and welcome to CUR's Research Directive session. This session will cover the discussion of the updated CUR policies and its guidelines, and the signing of the acknowledgement form as designated research coordinator. Our aim is to encourage all faculty, personnel, and students through you, research coordinators, to be aware of these policies and for them to participate in all research-related activities and or research. So just a few reminders to all attendees, please ensure that you have accomplished the registration form as part of your attendance, and after the session, we will send the evaluation link to your UMak email address. Please accomplish that as well for you to receive your certificates. All questions will be entertained during the open forum after the discussion of all the policies. We're hoping that you have your pen handy or any device that you can use so you can jot down your questions for the latter's open forum. So before we start, let's do a quick roll call from each college. Any representative po from CTM? CTM. What about from CCIS? Okay. Thank you. For CCSE, thank you, ma'am. CTHM, CBFS, IOA, Institute of Accounting, IOP, Ma'am Estela, COE, sir, thank you. CHK, Sir Sichon. CAL, thank you, sir. CGPP, CGPP. HSU, thank you. CCAPS. Just to inform you, after the program, an acknowledgement form will go around for the research coordinators and research faculty to sign. So please be informed that, again, after the program, or actually during the open forum, we can distribute the acknowledgement form. Only the research coordinators and faculty handling research should sign that acknowledgement form. And later, we will provide you the instructions on how you can disseminate the policies and the guidelines to your respective colleges. So let us officially start our session for today. May we request to please all rise for the prayer, national anthem, and the UMak hymn. And to lead us for the prayer, may we call on Carl Gading.
Dear God, thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. And may we discern your will to unite in a fruitful outcome.
Bayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisingin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw na kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na buwan, hadit pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya City of Makati, future builder of this land.
Thank you. You may now all be seated. Um, Again, let's do a quick roll call. Any representative from CTM? IOA. IOA. IOP, I see Ma'am Stella. CGPP. Okay, thank you. Leading the center's goal to provide technical research competence to UMak community, to start the discussion, let us welcome the Center for University Research Director Florante E. de los Santos.
Okay, so I will not be doing any opening remarks, but I will proceed immediately to the topic at hand because I know that all of us are busy. That's why my apologies for requesting all of you to attend this, but I thought this is the only way by which we can disseminate the newly approved policies related to research. Although I have already instructed my office to, I have already sent all the copies, the soft copies to your personal UMak email, so you can actually check and read. I think it was sent to you yesterday. My intention was for you to be able to read it ahead of the session so that more or less you know what the topic will be for today's session. All right. So the topics to be discussed today are the following. So you have brief discussion about PREV. PREV is the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. It's the only recognized accrediting agency for research ethics board or research ethics committee in the Philippines. And CHED and all the agencies of the government recognize this. That is why we need to be part of this. We actually have already applied for accreditation, and hopefully the SOPs that we have made will be approved by the PREV. And however, even if the approval is not yet with us at the moment, it is advised that we should already practice doing the research ethics processes, okay? Because that is the only way by which we can prove to them that we are serious with our application, and we need to provide them with evidence, pieces of evidence that we are following the protocol of ethics review. So, and the next topic is about the UMREC. It is the newly formed board, the University of Makati Research Ethics Committee. And the two people who will be permanently placed in this office will be Professor Ray Medinilla and Ms. Tin Samonte, all right? And right now we're still looking for a place for them because it has to be physically distant from the research center, insofar as it has to be independent from the research center, independent from the president and all these administrative agencies in UMak. So that is part of the requirement of PREV. And then the members of the ethics board right now, the interim members of the committee were those who or are those who have attended the 4-day training by PREV, facilitated by the PREV. And we were the ones who crafted drafted, created the SOPs of the UMREC. And that is what we have submitted to PREV for accreditation. All right? So it is called interim because eventually all those who are, right now I'm also the interim chair of the UMREC, but eventually we are only allowed 6 months to do that because those who have positions in key positions in the university should not be members of the Research Ethics Committee or the Research Ethics Board. So eventually, all 17 of us, I think 10 people will be replaced because they are occupying positions in the university like BP Iban, Yusek Cariaga, and all the other directors like myself, no, and the department heads. So eventually, only faculty members would have to be members of this. But you need to be nominated, elected by the members of the UMREC for you to be identified as a good replacement for the UMREC. And I think you can only be an ethics board member for 2 years, right? 3 years. Okay. Even the chair would have to be elected eventually. Anyway, and then the advisory on the acceptable use of LLMs. I think I have already sent this to you via email a long time ago in Bethlehem. And then you have the newly approved policies by the board, by the EXCOM. You have the policy on the request to conduct research, list of accredited and recognized non-Scopus journals, research project and implementation incentive, which is like the research grant. Then the next, financial assistance. It has also been revised, and it will be explained to you later on. Publication fee, subsidy, and incentives. Then you have the software tools that we can use for our research. And then the job description of UMREC, policy on universitas articles, and the accreditation of UMak research journals. And then you have the Research Congress policy, certifying papers for promotion purposes. Then you have academic integrity in research. And then you have research coordinator job description. All right. And then the next one. All right, what is PREV? As I pointed out earlier, it is the only recognized and accrediting body that checks if a research ethics board or committee is complying with the requirements of reviewing researches, okay? So that's it. I don't need to read that. Anything that actually not just human participants, no, because all research papers would have to be reviewed by the UMREC. So even if it's just a systematic review or meta-analysis or that do not necessarily involve human participants, it will be reviewed as well by the UMREC. Okay, next. So this is when we had the training. Some of us were chosen to be part of this. Most of them are actually occupying positions at the time, like Director Ray, nandiyan din si Sir Ivan, and yeah. So next slide. Then the training for the SOPs. Okay, next. All right, so the UMREC was formed and approved by the MANCOM and the EXCOM. So mayroon na pong board resolution. And then, meaning all research outputs of the university would have to pass the Review Ethics Committee or Board. All right? So, natatanggal yung mic. What's happening there? Hawakan ko na lang. All right, so, yeah, it's not sticking to its place. Anyway, so, yeah. What? Yeah. So, all papers would have to undergo ethics board. And the next, please. So, even the undergrad thesis, the grad dissertation, the papers for publication in universities or in any journals outside or for paper presentation, it would have to pass through first the UMREC. Because for your information, internationally, before you're allowed to present your paper, the recognized journals, the credible journals would ask you if your paper has undergone a research ethics review. All right? So that's now the norm, and also that is what CHED would require us to do. So we have no other choice but to comply as well. All right? Which is also good because the UMREC would have to comment on the first 3 chapters on the research protocol of the papers, no? So there's already a filter, and they can comment on the paper, and then it will be returned to you at once after 2 weeks. And then you will have to improve it based from the comments of the committee. And then, but only the first 3 chapters. You might be wondering, how about the research center? Our job is for the full paper. All right? The first 3 chapters, the research protocol, that is UMREC's job. Okay? The full paper, if you are planning to have it published in the universitas or to be presented abroad or somewhere else, then it has to be reviewed first by the research center. Alright? So yun po. Yun po yung difference ng UMREC at saka nung research center. Next, please. So why do we have to have an UMREC? Sinabi ko na, aside from the requirement by the government, by CHED specifically. So protection of human subjects, all of us know that. We're all researchers here. Ensuring informed consent, that's why you're being asked to come up with ICF. We have given also samples so that the researchers will be able to come up with their own based from the template given to you by the UMREC, no? Compliance with regulations, and then mitigation of risk, okay? Next, quality control. So in a way, it is also a filter for papers, no? That they are scientifically sound, has undergone rigor, blah, blah. Maintaining integrity, we need that more and more, especially now with the presence of all this software and large language models, etc. Promoting public trust, facilitating ethical decision-making, accountability, continual improvement. I think I don't need to explain each one. You know them by heart. No? All of us researchers know this. No? To begin with, before we submit a paper to the research ethics, it is assumed that it is a product of our honest work, right? So actually, we don't need others to check our papers. However, there's already the assumption that before you submit a paper, it is a product of an honest work. Okay? Sabi nga nung speaker nung last Monday, si Dr. Don, even if the UMREC and the research center failed to detect plagiarism or failed to detect the mistakes in your paper, it will leave a digital imprint, and eventually you will be caught. You will be detected, no? So the journals, for example, have to make uh, uh, an announcement that they need to retract, blah, 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 because they have published your work and they found out that there are some ethical concerns, things like this. It's on us kasi supposedly we're honest people. We do that because it's a product of our rigorous work, honest work, etc. Okay, next. So the clusters for UMREC are, we have 5 clusters. Yes, yes. So I need to show that. That's an important slide. All right. So you have the 5 clusters that would be responsible for evaluating, reviewing the research protocol, no? Wala pa rin. Okay, kakanta muna ako. All right. So cluster 1 will be CTM, CCIS, CCSE. Cluster 2 will be CTHM, CBFS, and IOA. 3 will be IOP, IIHS, ION, COS. 4 will be COE, CHK, CAL, CGPP, HSU. 5 will be CCOPS and SOL. So these have to be properly represented in the ethics board, and only 17 or 15 to 17 can compose. 15 right now because we need 17. Because we also need external reviewers at times, depending on the nature or the field of study that is being evaluated. No, if there's a need for an expert, then UMREC has the option to invite somebody from the outside in order to evaluate the paper at hand. Okay? All right. So next, please. So right now, these are the members of the UMREC, the interim members of the committee. So you have Cluster 1, Luke Ivan Moro, Wilber Sabado, and then 2, Amante Luis Olivar, Ferdinand Piano, and then 3, Justin Marie Ocampo, Estela de Vera, Mayna Marinerona, Jerome Abenilla, Aldrin Mendoza, John Alfred Bravo, Michael Jalilio, Anthony John Domingo, Esmeralda de las Armas, Josephine Rubinos, Rosalie Catanghal, Margaret Meiga, Francisco Lambohon, Rayma Danilia, Maria Faye, Nanette Carriaga, Lorna Esquivel, Noel Ibanez, Mark Philip Paderan, Henry Magat, Richard Rodriguez, Junlor Daxa, Ederson Tapia, and Noel Ibanez. So, for example, there's a paper coming from COE. So the chair will choose from the people in cluster 4, one of them, and then another one from the other clusters to review the paper. All right? If there is a need for an expert, because the paper is highly scientific, then we will invite somebody from other universities to review it, the third member of the committee. If it is an exempted one, then there is no need for them to review. If it is expedited, then there is a need for at least 2 or 3 people to review the protocol. If it is a full review, then the same. All right. Okay. If there is a need for all members of the committee to convene because of an issue in the paper, then it will be convened. All of them would have to be present, and they have to vote if the paper can be accepted or not, or it can be improved or not. Okay, next. So, hindi ito nakikita. So you have, I will just explain it one by one, sorry. So you have the first box, the proponent, you, the researcher, would have, thank you, you're so good. Thank you. So you have the UMREC form, 0013. So via online, so you have a Google form, you will fill it up, and then you will upload the research protocol. All right? And then it will be assessed by the UMREC, and then it will evaluate if it has to undergo exempted review, expedited review, or full review. Okay? Sino magre-review? Yung sinabi ko po kanina, members of the committee. If a review is needed, the UMREC chair chooses members from the cluster, and then the UMREC informs the proponent if the research protocol needs revisions. So babalik po sa inyo yon, yung paper nyo, to revise some portions of it, even the survey form or the questionnaire or things like that. And then, kung meron pa rin correction, babalik na naman doon sa UMREC hanggang paikot-ikot, hanggang mahilo na yung paper. Ngayon, kung okay na, acceptable, then UMREC approves the research protocol. The request will be endorsed to OBPPR, that's Dr. Tapia, for the approval of the dissemination of data gathering tool. All right? And then after that, UMREC informs you, the researcher, of the approval. And then if the proponent changes some parts of the paper of the study, then he or she has to inform the UMREC and goes back to the first level again. All right? If the proponent decides to change some portions of the study. All right? Next, and then UMREC informs you kapag okay na, and then CUR, or the Center for University Research, may then endorse the request and approval for the dissemination of the data gathering tools to the concerned office or center where the proponent intends to conduct the study. And then once the research study is complete, the proponent may opt, if you like, to submit it for publication in universitas. If you don't like, then you're free. This is a free country. Publish is somewhere else. Okay? Alright, kapag complete na po yun. Alright, so that's the protocol. Next, please. Then you have link to UMREC standards operating procedures. I think that was sent to you personally. Pakibuksan nyo na lang po, basahin nyo. Medyo makapal po kasi yung ginawa naming SOP manual. Kaya sinend na lang po namin na soft copy. We cannot provide you with a hard one. So medyo makapal po yun. Kayo na lang po magbasa if you want the details about the work. Okay? Next. This one, I don't think I need to discuss this because I have already sent the copy. The point of giving the advisory to everybody is for you, in summary, for you to disclose your usage of an AI tool. All right? You just have to disclose it. And because that is part of integrity, you have to disclose your use. For example, in some parts of your introduction, you have made use of ChatGPT-4, or in some parts of your review of related lit. However, eventually in the policy on research integrity, we can only allow AI-generated data. The threshold is only 5%. Because now we can detect if you have made use of AI in your write-up. Okay? So 5% lang po yung pwede. Okay? Aside from the 15% threshold in Turnitin. Okay? Because earlier, I think a month ago, some people would say, you cannot detect the AI-generated data. So how can you detect? We had a meeting with Turnitin, and we brought this issue to them. And then they told us now, effective April 5, we can now detect it. And I tried it, and it was actually detected. No? So even the use of Killbot, for example, we can actually detect if you made use of Killbot. Killbot is like a paraphrasing software tool. It can also be detected. All right? So we will know. Only 5% is acceptable for your information. Next. So okay na to. I summarized it already. I told Sige, okay na yan. The point of that advisory is merely disclosure of the use of the ChatGPT 4. All right? And then our center encourages all RRL for thesis, dissertations, and other papers that you made use of Scopus Index or Elsevier Index journals in your RRL. Make use of that. How can we use it? Some journals we need to pay. You can actually make use of ProQuest in the library. All right? Whenever I write a paper and I need some articles that are Scopus Index and I cannot access it using only Google, I go to the library. We have the ProQuest. I ask them, request them. We have assigned somebody from the library to assist you in acquiring some of the articles from any journals that are Scopus indexed, and they will willingly help you out. Okay? So they will provide me now with all these articles that I need because I have identified them, and Google only provides, for example, the abstract. I don't need the abstract. I need the full paper. So I request the librarian assigned to do that, and voila, after 2 hours or 3 hours, the librarian would send to my email all the articles that I need for my paper. Please do that. Please abuse the librarians, okay? Okay. And again, I beg you, because this is a result of our attendance to international conferences on research. There is now a need for us to really be picky with the articles that we are going to quote or to include in our RRL. Make sure, in our case, we allow all those Scopus Index journals and also those listed in the Andrew Gonzalez Philippine Citation Index. There are 42 journals right now that are indexed by AGCPI. Also, we allow the non-Scopus journals that we have identified, which will be presented later on. Okay? I think you have also been provided with a copy of that. Okay, next please. Oh, now we go to each policy. So thank you, and if you have questions about what I just presented to you, please reserve them, and we will deal with them in the open forum. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we continue, we just want to ensure that each college is represented. CTM. Any representative? Sorry. I thought you're IOA. CTM. IOA, meron na rin po. SOL. There's none. CCAPS. And IIHS. Yeah. Thank you. So let me call Carl for the discussion.
Good afternoon po, everyone. So I know we all have busy schedules, but thank you for choosing being present today. Next po. So the first policy that we will be discussing today is the policy on the request to conduct research. So I know as faculty members, we are familiar na po with this policy since it was being practiced na po within the university prior to the approval of this policy. So all research protocols and all requests to conduct research should undergo review from the University of Makati Research Ethics Committee. So this function is still administered by the Center for University Research. But after 6 months, this function will be transferred to the UMrec. So next, please. So there are two types of requesting proponents. The first type is the internal proponent, which are proponents that are associated with the University of Makati. The next proponent is the external proponent, which are proponents that are not associated with the University of Makati but are still interested to pursue or conduct the research within UMak's jurisdiction. So next, um, uh, these requesting proponents may be students, faculty members, or administrative personnel. So the next, these are the procedures for the approval of the request. So yes, this was discussed earlier by Professor De Los Santos, but the main points to be considered here is the request. We have further digitalized the request. We have designated Google form for this type of request. So here is the link for the request to conduct research. So in this Google form, we have attached downloadable forms, which is the UMREC 0013, which is the application for ethics review. We also provided templates for informed consent form, that is another important requirement, and the research protocol. So it should be collated into one PDF, and it should be attached and uploaded to the Google form link. So next policy, please. So this is one of the more popular requests of faculty members of the University of Makati, which is for CUR to identify, accredit, and recognize non-Scopus journals. So as researchers, I know all of you faculty members are aware of Scopus index journals. Scopus, one of the most reputable, most recognized indexing company or indexing body. So as mandated by CUR, we identified non-Scopus journals which are considered reputable. So this policy applies to articles published in accredited and recognized reputable non-Scopus academic journal publications as listed by the CUR. So the list was already provided in your email accounts, so you may access them already po. So next po. So there are criteria for journal inclusion. So the first one, it should have peer-reviewed articles in the journal description, should include the peer review process. Number two, have a reputable pool of reviewers, consultants, and editorial boards. Number three, be published regularly. So if a reputable journal listed in the accredited non-Scopus journal fails to publish with the, based from what they claim, it could be delisted automatically. Number four, have an international standard serial number, ISSN, registered in the ISSN International Center, and have visibility in the ISSN portal. So this is another important requirement for us to list a journal. So it should have an ISSN, and the ISSN is accessible in the ISSN portal. So the next one, have a publicly available publication ethics and publication malpractice statement. And number six, should not be listed in Bill's list of potential predatory journals and publishers. Next po. So we encourage faculty members to request if they find a journal which they consider reputable, they may request to CUR for the journal to be included in the official list. So inclusion shall be made twice a year because we review the policy biannually. So we may only add your request biannually, which is by I think June or December, if approved. So we have two committee that will assess if the journal is reputable. The first one is the Center for University Research, and the other one is the Library Learning Commons LLC, because they are the expert in the publication resources. So we seek help from them to assess if the journal is reputable or scholarly. So here is the procedure on the request for journal inclusion. So the first one, you should write a letter to the Center for University Research Director for possible inclusion of a journal. The second one, the CUR, the two committee will assess if the journal is legitimate or not. So we have a process and a process wherein we check the legitimacy of the journal. We have a different process for that. It will be discussed later on. So number 3, if approved, CUR shall endorse the journal to the Vice President for Planning and Research for final approval. And lastly, CUR shall then add the journal to the official list at the time of the review and revision, which shall be done biannually. Next po. So conditions for the listing. We also have conditions for the listing if the journal is already listed in our official list. So number 1, failure to publish based on the frequency they claim to maintain. So I already mentioned this earlier. So number 2, failure to uphold the acceptable standards by CUR. So what are those acceptable standards? So these are basically the basic research standards, which are correct use of grammar, Turnitin similarity check, and AI writing similarity. Number 2, failure to uphold the acceptable standards by CUR. Number 3, formal and valid complaints regarding the publication. If the Center for University Research receives complaints from from proponents, we may look at it and assess the gravity of the concern. We may consider them for the listing in the official list. Number 4, the research article's failure to follow the suggested field of discipline declared by the journal publication or website. So for example, a research journal claims that they only publishes general education, but they publish journals coming from IT, computer science. Yeah, that is one of the red flags for predatory or non-scholarly journals. So number 5, if the journal is listed in the updated bills list of potential predatory journals and website. So I know we are familiar naman po with bills list. They identify research journals that are considered predatory and non-scholarly. Next po. So if a journal is already listed in the non-Scopus accredited journals by the CUR, if they are listed, they will be automatically considered for certification. For example, a faculty member request for their published research to be certified by CUR for promotion. If we see that the article is published in one of those journals listed in the official list, we will automatically certify them as published research, as long as the article adheres to the basic research standards. Next policy. So this go back please. So the policy on the research project and implementation incentive. So this policy was drafted and proposed to the management committee for the reason to give faculty members incentive for engaging in research. So next po. So the coverage, the RPII incentive is open to all regular or casual full-time faculty members and employees. So CUR identified 3 fields of study, which is the competence, consciousness, and conscience. So competence in any field of engineering, biology, physics, chemistry, financial engineering, computer engineering, IT, computer science, data science, English, applied statistics, mathematics, and technology education. For consciousness, urban planning, communication arts, architecture, Philippine studies, women development, community development, gender studies, Philippine literature, public administration, and political science. For conscience, ethics, psychology, guidance and counseling, and other programs with allied health aspect. Next po. So, CUR shall ensure that all fields of study are well represented. Are all represented. So, priority for research project implementation incentive will be given to sole authorship. However, interested parties with more than one proponent may still apply. However, we still prioritize sole authorship for them to utilize the allotted fund and grant. So we have requirements for requesting proponents. So number one, has no pending administrative case. So this is a must. Number two, is not a recipient of other external research grants. So for example, if you're already granted with a fund by DOST, you are no longer um, you are not longer eligible for the RPII incentive. Next po. Number three, we also encourage retiring faculty members to avail this incentive. However, um, the duration of the incentive, the implementation of the expected outcome, and the return service. So return service only apply for those faculty members that will avail the deloading privilege. So completion should not go beyond the date of retirement. So number four, the proponent must ensure that the research proposal is new and has not been used for another grant or published in another journal. So ongoing study po dapat yung ipapasa for RPII consideration. So the next one is amount and time frame. So the maximum incentive that you are eligible to receive is 100,000, but this depends on the gravity of it depends on the importance, impact of your proposed study, your proposal. So upon completion of the final paper, the proponent has to implement the research policy or program for at least for a period of at least 6 months. But the maximum number of the duration is 1 year. 1 year for you to implement the project. Next. The incentive shall be released as follows. So the first there are two tranches. So the first tranche is 20%. So this shall be given upon the approval of the proposal. The next one, the second tranche is 80%. This is upon the implementation of the project. So CUR may grant an extension to the requesting proponent. However, it will be assessed depending on the reason of the requester. Well, yeah, but the extension shall only last for a year. Next po. So here are the application requirements. So the proponent submit a research proposal to the UMREC with the following details. So the research protocols, expected output of the deliverables, Gantt chart, application form, curriculum vitae, assessment of the proposal by the department chair or unit head, cost estimate, plans for dissemination and utilization, and the office agency center wherein the proponent plans to implement his project. Next po. So committees are responsible for the decision of the application. So we have two committees. The first one, your proposal or your research protocol shall undergo UMREC. It is a requirement. All researchers should undergo ethics review. So if approved by UMREC, it will undergo assessment from the RPII committee, which is composed of the Vice President for Planning and Research, the University Secretary, the CUR Director, and the HRMO head. So they will assess if the research proposal is beneficial to an agency, office center, and or organization within the University of Makati or even within the city government of Makati. So the Center for University Research will announce a call for submission that will be done once a year. The RPII will be reviewed and will approve the project proposal based on the following criteria. So the number of authors. Number two, accomplished forms. So the RPII incentive has corresponding forms where you need to accomplish them. Number T, pass the initial evaluation that will be conducted by UMREC, pass the final evaluation that will be conducted by the RPII committee. So next, please. So here are the procedures. So we also have a corresponding Google form for the said request and for the application. We have also corresponding forms where you need to attach them to the Google form. We'll provide you with the application forms later on. Number two, it should be approved by the University Research Ethics Committee. It should be reviewed. Number three, what do you call this? There will be a initial screening or a screening assessment from the RPII committee. Number 4, next po. The evaluation period and proposal presentation will be set by the CUR once the RPI committee approves it. Number 6, the final top 5 applicants chosen by the RPII committee will be required to accomplish the research project and implementation incentive terms of engagement. So after ma-approve siya ng RPII committee, there will be a corresponding terms of agreement. Nilalaman po nun yung kung gaano katagal siya may implement and how much po yung magiging incentive na marireceive ni proponent. Number 7, upon the accomplishment of the agreement, the CUR will endorse the release of the first tranche of the research fund to the UMak budget office. So this is the first tranche, which is the 20% of the incentive. Number 8, after the accomplishment, presentation, and approval of the final paper, the proponents may proceed to the 1-year research implementation proper for the faculty who availed of the deload option. The return service form from the HRMO should be accomplished. Next. So once the research implementation has been assessed as effective, so the-assess na po yung impact ng study by the CUR, we can release na po the 80%, the second tranche, which is the 80%. So the next one is the deload privilege option. So the requesting proponent may also avail the deload privilege option. They have a maximum of 12 units to avail, and this is will last for 1 year with salary but without honorarium. So sole authorship, so the proponent benefits from the full amount of the deload. However, the deload option is determined based on the number of authors. For example, the research project has 4 authors. So the 12 unit the deload shall be divided among the authors. Next. So deloading requests and schedules affect the academic unit. So the proponent must ensure the accomplishment of the deloading approval from their respective deans included in the application form. So dapat po, si proponent is mag-request muna sa dean if he or she is allowed to for a deload. So the committee may also decide to change the option chosen by the proponent based on the presentation of timeline proposed. So next po. So return service requirement. So return service is required for those faculty members that will avail the deload option. So the research also requires a 1-year return service to those faculty members who have been granted teaching deload regardless of the number of deload given or granted. So progress reports for expected outputs. So the basis and evaluation of the impact and effectiveness of the project on the chosen beneficiary shall be assessed by the CUR through the use of evaluation rubric. So we have an evaluation rubric to assess the impact of your project to the chosen beneficiary, agency, or center. So after we determine that there has been an apparent success, we may release the remaining tranche, which is the 80% of the incentive. So after upon the granting of the incentive, the proponent may submit his project in IMRAD format and be submitted for publication, which is in the Universitas, our official publication po. Next po. So we have the failure to implement the research outputs. So as the CUR is also a recommending body to the HRMO, the CUR may give a recommendation if the proponent may be considered for a promotion or appraisal. So in the event that the proponent did not complete the project or the research and its implementation, the full amount of the incentive has to be returned to the University of Makati or to the city government of Makati. HRMO shall also be informed of the non-completion of the research project, which may be included in the employee's record of demerit purposes. So next po. So that ends my discussion for today. The other policies shall be discussed by my co-assistants. And may I call on Mr. Mark Vincent Valerio.
Thank you, Sir Carl. Okay, so we have a lot more of policies to discuss. We have remaining 9 more policies. But for financial assistance grant, slide. Okay, so we have the impression before that the financial grant is only for those faculty members who did not avail sabbatical leave. But in actual fact, those faculty members who took their sabbatical leave can also avail of the financial grant. Okay, so we have 2 categories now. For those who did not take the sabbatical leave, can get 25,000 pesos for their graduate thesis and 50,000 for dissertation. And for those who take their sabbatical leave, they can get up to 15,000 pesos for thesis and 30,000 pesos for dissertation. So all faculty members and administrative employees holding permanent appointments can avail the financial grant. We want to be part of your journey. First step of doing your research, we want to be part of it if you want to avail that financial grant. And it only applies to theses and dissertations that were initiated after the approval of the UMREC. So, before you apply, of course, you need to come up with your thesis. And before you do that, we need to have a certification from UMREC that they have reviewed your protocol. So along with the submission of all the requirements, we will also require that particular certificate. And as far as UMREC is concerned, it's actually the decision letter form that you need to acquire from them. Next. So these are the conditions for availment. It should, of course, pass the basic criteria of review done by us. Okay? Those who did not avail sabbatical leave should have a certification coming from HR. So if you don't have that certification, we have the impression that you take that sabbatical leave and we will process it equivalent to that amount. Okay? Anyway, we have actually sent it. That's the only update that we have for that financial grant. Let me show you the flow chart for you to understand how it goes in terms of processing that grant. Next po. Next. There. So there's gonna be magic again, I believe. Ta-da. So, okay. So first, we need to have a certificate coming from UMREC. So that's the first step. After you have that, and then of course you will be doing your thesis now or dissertation, you need to write a letter that you are applying for financial grant addressed to the CUR director. And then once done, CUR writes a letter of recommendation to the college where the faculty employee is enrolled. The proponent, after being informed by his college or school, signs a notarized memorandum. So that's another update. There should be a signed memorandum undertaking from the CUR with the advisor as your witness. After it has been defended and approved, the proponent submits the final paper to the CUR a month after your graduation. So that's important. It should be after a month, a month after your graduation that you should submit your final manuscript to us. And that's the only time we will evaluate it with the help of your dean, your respective dean, the CUR director, the planning director, and urban development department at the City Hall, Makati City Hall. And then once we collated the results, we will then endorse it to OVPPR. And that's the only time OVPPR endorses the request for the approval of MANCOM or EXICOM. And once your name is included in that EXICOM, we can now process the request for financial grant. And these requirements actually varies. It may change depending on the City Hall's advice because personally in my experience, it changes. I don't know why, but it changed. So we will of course update you for those changes. And once you have accomplished all those requirements, you need to submit it to City Hall. You go personally to the City Hall. And faculty waits for the response from the City Hall regarding any document that is still needed for the approval. And that's once they're done processing it, of course, you will receive that grant. Estimated 1 or 2 months, it depends. Next policy is on the publication fee subsidy and incentive amending the formalizing the guidelines for the availment of the publication incentives. So it's actually it covers all the UMak employees, academic, administrative, regardless of employment status. The PIP, what we called it, grants up to 20,000 pesos for every paper accepted, categorized as follows: 20,000 for articles published in a Q1 or Q2, 10,000 for Q3 or Q4, and 5,000. Where's the 5,000? For the universitas. It's included. This is recorded, and I therefore conclude that it's included. 5,000 once you publish your articles in universitas. Okay. So next, please. The only thing that we need from you is the certificate of publication. So if you publish it in universitas, you will of course need to request the certification from us and a copy of your ID. And the first part of your article or where it was published as a proof that your article is accepted to wherever journal you have published it to. Okay? Next, please. Policy and guidelines on the use of NVivo, SPSS, and Turnitin. Okay. So, we want to inform you that once you have paid the research fee of 200 pesos, it includes, that's for undergrad, 200 pesos for undergrad, next please. There, 200 pesos for undergrad, 1.5 per student for thesis writing, dissertation 2.5 for graduate, research proposal for journal articles, 1.5 per paper. But if you are an employee, UMak employee, you'll get 50%. So this actually includes all those research tools, not only for one. So if you're doing quali or mix method, then we can help you through the use of NVivo and SPSS for Quanti. And you can also utilize Turnitin. For Turnitin, we only allow 4 times. 4 times for your articles to be subjected to that software. Next. Next policy is the UMREC member job description. So this has been approved already. Next, please. Okay. The UMREC officers of the University of Makati, if you are an officer of UMREC, you are actually also a member. So the duties and responsibilities, if you are a member, you should attend seminars, training, and meetings such as the following. SOP, we'll conduct it every year. It's actually budgeted for the year 2024. The basic research ethics training and academic integrity training. UMREC regular and special meeting. If you're a member, it's a must. And evaluate research protocols in accordance with the university's SOP. Participate in the ethical review of research proposals and other related reports. Members should ensure that informed consent form and its process are sensitive and respectful of the gender, ethnicity, and social class of participants or respondents, and so on. So if you're a member, you should also declare any conflict of interest in the review of research proposals and maintain confidentiality of the documents and deliberations of the UMREC meetings. So for the job overview, we have already sent you a copy of SOP. So it was sent to your email, UMak email account. If you did not receive any from us yesterday, please let us know. Because what we have is the list of all UMak employees, so faculty and admin personnel. If you're not, if you did not receive, please let us know. Next. Go back. Back. Okay. So it's included for the qualifications of UMREC member. It's included in the link that we have sent. Next, please. Okay. So the UMREC member, if you're a member, you will receive, shall have a 6-unit teaching honorarium equivalent. So it's a MANCOM resolution. It has been approved. And UMREC members are disqualified to be research coordinators and research advisors. Elaborate, sir. Okay.
Regarding number 7, we're still arguing about this because some centers or colleges lack faculty members. So I think we will have to change this in such a way as to accommodate, even if you are an UMREC member, you can also be an advisor, provided that you will not be included in the review if you are an advisor of the said paper. Okay? So I think I will have to change number 7. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So before we continue, do we have representative na from SOL? None. What about IOA? None. Okay. Thank you. So let me call on my colleague, Vincent, Sir Vincent. 5 more policies. 5 more policies to go.
I think this one is very relevant to the people who are here because I believe that most of you here are research coordinators. So here I go. Here is the policy for research coordinator. Okay, this will be the standardized job description for the research coordinators. Yan. You will be reporting to the director of the Center for University Research in coordination with your immediate supervisor, namely your dean or whoever is directly over you. So the college, school, or institute that you belong to. So that's the first one that we need to clarify that one. Why report to the, coordinate and report to the research director, the COR director, is because we need to have close coordination. Whatever effort, whatever research effort that you might have, it's really very important that the Center for University Research is also informed. Okay. Now, the duties and responsibilities would be the following. You will be managing research teachers. Yan. Second, attend seminars capacitating for the conduct of research and managing the research department, such as the use of software, research methodology, research ethics, and academic integrity, research writing and citation conventions, etc. So It's really very important that we are on top of the updating of the skills that's needed by our students, especially that you are the one who's going to transmit it to your professors or to the teachers, the research teachers, and then they will be the one who's going to teach those to our students. Yan. So very academic pa rin yung ating role. Next, develop and contextualize the research curriculum relevant to their college, school, or institute following DepEd, and I'm referring to the HSU here, or CHED curriculum standards as expressed in their policies approved by CUR and CCMD or TBL Hub, I think now. You will be the managing editor, and we are really challenging you to do so, to have your own research journal per college, per institute. Please, okay, we are encouraging you to do so because you will be helping the University of Makati for world ranking. Okay? So, internationalization po ang ating aim, globalization. So, if you're planning to have your own research journal for your institute or your college, we have a process later on. I will be focusing on that. Okay? So, please lang po. That's also my dream when I was the coordinator for research in iAcademy. That the senior high school there would have our own research journal. It's just that I have to leave. Okay, anyway. So, yeah. It's also your job to supervise the student research flow. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, part of your job would be to assign advisors and to ensure that they are, well, kumbaga, before UMREC, you have to make sure that your students are actually doing ethical research. Yan. So that's why very important that you are also aware about the SOPs of UMREC. Letter F here is checks for authenticity or originality of the papers using anti-plagiarism software. That's why you're also the managers for the Turnitin. Okay, I think you have been given access to the Turnitin service of the University of Makati. Yan. Ensure that all research papers have undergone UMREC evaluation of the research protocol and CUR evaluation of full papers. So yan. I think clear naman yun. This one, we adapted this one, the job overview from the one that is already being practiced by most of us, by most of the colleges and institutes here in UMak. You may read this one na lang. Yan. Pero I think very important po yung duties and responsibilities na ito. Yun. Please lang po, managing editor of your own research journal. Thank you. Yan. And we will be happy to help you. Okay? Later on, I'll discuss the process of how you are going to do that. Qualification, okay, of a research director or research coordinator, I should say. With a graduate degree, of course, I think most of us in teaching college has master's degree at least, and of course, PhD holder is preferable. Letter B would be handled research subjects. How can you manage research teachers or professors or faculty and research students if you don't know how it goes, diba? So at least you know how to teach it also. Letter C, have published in Scopus or recognized non-Scopus journals. So we are also encouraging you to please publish. Ayan. Please, please, please. Thank you very much. You will help UMak in the, again, world rankings of universities. Thank you very much again for that. Remuneration. The research coordinator shall have 6-unit teaching overload honorarium. Okay, as per Mancom Resolution 2020-052. Okay. Again, non-compete. Research coordinators are disqualified to be nominated and be selected members of the UMREC. So if you are here It means that after 6 months of the first implementation of UMREC, you will not be any more part of UMREC. You will be only research coordinators. Yan. Yan. Para wala po tayong conflict of interest. Yun. Okay. We'll go now to the policy on publication, more specifically for universitas articles, and ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina, accreditation of your research journal. The policy on universitas and research congress is almost the same. Okay? I don't think I need to discuss it anymore for the universitas flow. Okay, because I think we're doing it already. Most of you have already submitted your paper for for UMREC review, for the initial review. Thank you very much. So, I would just like to emphasize what we have been already telling lately, since Sir Rante, we will only accommodate those who have submitted their paper through the Google form. Okay po? Why? Because we need documentation. Mahirap po kasing mag-track ng mga submissions na yung paper. Doble trabaho rin po dun sa mga SA namin yon kasi kung minsan, itatranslate pa po nila yon, i-digitalize pa po nila yon, mahirap pong i-disseminate sa mga UMREC members yon kung physical copy yung inyong ibibigay sa amin. So please lang po, use the Google form para mabilis naming mabigay sa mga ethics UMREC members for their Please din po wag po sa email kasi na super flooded na po yung inbox namin. Ayun. Kaya po namin ginawa yung mga Google form para may designated places for us to receive your requests, your submissions, so that we could track them. And number 2, para hindi po ma-flood yung aming inbox. Yan. Alam niyo naman po kung gaano kasakit sa mata pag nakikita ninyo, napupuno na yung inbox ninyo. Ayan. I want to focus on the journal. Okay. Oh, by the way, let me just remind everyone also that the deadline, the extended deadline for the submission of Universitas research protocol, that is Chapter 1, 2, 3, Research Protocol, remember po yun Research Protocol is chapters 1, 2, 3 of your thesis. And if you used IMRAD, then that's only introduction and methodology plus the ethical consideration and your ICF or informed consent form. Now, for Universitas and Research Congress, for the Universitas, we are accepting unpublished papers, ongoing or finished already. Okay? So, yon. It's an opportunity for us to publish, so please take advantage of it. Of course, yes, please align it with a theme. Okay? Now, if it is an ongoing paper, if you cannot finish the paper, the data gathering and the writing before the Research Congress, then you will not be included in the Research Congress. But you will be published for Universitas since you have already applied for it. Yon. So yun po yung difference ni Research Congress at saka Universitas. Sa Research Congress, dapat tapos na yung paper by the time of the Research Congress. Pero kung hindi pa po tapos, syempre po ano po yung inyong i-present na data sa Research Congress kung hindi pa tapos yung yung paper. Okay po? So yun. Ano pa? For the Research Congress, we are also allowing about 3 to 5 published papers. Yan. That's why there is an option there where you will indicate whether your paper has been published already. But of course, we will also verify the publication. We will go to that. Kasi nga, as Carl presented lately, there is a way for us to check whether your paper is really published or not. Okay? If it is identified by Bill's list and so on and so forth. Scopus or not. Yung ganon. So yun po. Again, April 31 po. 30, sorry. Nagkaroon ng 31. No. April 30 po ang submission, deadline of submission ng mga research protocols. Okay. Now, if you have already submitted, please wait for us to communicate with you for whatever needs to be done. I think we've already communicated with some of you who have already submitted. Um, and some of our research, UMREC members have already done expedited review of 2 papers. So yun. Yan. So it's already working. UMREC is already working. Let's go to... Oh, by the way, let me just highlight this one. When we ask for the full submission of your article, it should not be in thesis format anymore. Okay? It should be in IMRAD format. Yon. So for now, if it's still in thesis format, okay lang po 'yon kasi research protocol naman siya eh. Introduction, RRL, review of related literature, and then the methodology. But when we ask for the submission of the full paper, please lang po IMRAD. Ayan. And also, we are following APA 7th edition convention on formatting and the citation. Ayan. Of course, we have the 15% similarity threshold for Turnitin, and as Sir Rante emphasized kanina, the 5% AI similarity threshold din. Yan. Let's go to yun. Let's go to accreditation of journals. Okay. This is what I'm excited for kasi syempre, it means that if you start or if you have your own research journal for your own institute or college, then may edge ang UMak, di ba? Lalaban tayo sa UP Diliman, University of the Philippines, Manila, DLSU, kasi sila, university ranking sila because of the researches that they produce through their journals and also through the published articles of their professors to other journals. So, yun po yung ating laban. Ayan. So, isa lang naman po yun. Okay. For first-time accreditation of your research journal, at least the research unit coordinator, you, head or editor should have attended journal directive workshop organized by CUR. So by attending this seminar, you fulfilled one requirement. Okay. Number 2, all articles should be specialized for their field of discipline. Of course, for pharmacy, then of course, pharmaceutical researches dapat yon. Engineering researches. Law, and so on and so forth. Yan. Kasi, Universitas is multidisciplinary. When we get to your journals, we are expecting that your journals will be specialized for your field of discipline. Yan. All articles have passed the assessment of UMREC, so part of your process pa rin for approving your research articles for publication for your own journal would be having your articles pass through the UMREC evaluation. All articles follow the university research manual but may set their paper formatting or referencing style. APA 7th edition is the official convention for Universitas. Now, it's up to you, per college, per institute, to decide kung ano po yung inyong convention na ipa-follow. Okay? For example, sa Cal po, I think sa ibang mga schools, I think sa UP Diliman, they're using Turibian, not APA 7th edition. I'm not so sure po. For history, oh yeah, yun. Yun. So, you may decide po kung ano po yung inyong gagamitin para sa inyong research journal and even for your thesis. Okay? Basta lang po, hilingin lang din po namin na meron kayong memo na ipapublish sa inyong mga estudyante. Siyempre, kayo po yung magtuturo nung convention na yun. We do understand that APA may be useful for most researches, but I think, for example, sa College of Law, in other schools also, they don't use APA eh. Di ba? So, we are giving you now the liberty to decide. Just inform us, of course. Just inform us and make a proper memo to your students and your faculty that you are going to adopt that. Okay? Basta po, university-wide, I mean, sa CUR level, if you are going to submit papers to us, we are going to ask you to convert it to APA 7th edition. But if it is for your purposes, then you have to decide as a community or as a group. Okay? So, yan. Number 5. The journal layout and design have been approved by CIC. Yun din po. Approved din po sa CIC. Why? Because for branding purposes. Of course, your journal will be representing University of Makati. Yan. I think i-refer din po yata kayo sa City Hall. Kasi tama po ba? For that, yon. Kasi syempre, you're also carrying the name of Makati. Yan. Now, that's for the first accreditation. The second, for yearly reaccreditation, there should be a regular release of journals every year that follows the same conditions set above. Failure to release journals regularly will forfeit the accreditation. Yeah. Criteria for university accreditation of journals: first-time accreditation and accreditation. CUR shall use Andrew Gonzalez Philippine Citation Index. Yan. Siyempre, since tayo po ay index sa bakit po? Kasi we want that your own journals will be indexed din sa AGCPI. Okay? We will be very happy to help you be indexed. Kasi kailangan natin yun for World University Ranking. Yan. Malay nyo po, maungusan natin ang or, the others, di ba? Sabi nga po nung speaker last time, there's no such thing as local university. Every university has a potential to be global university. So, di ba? So, please lang po, maraming salamat. Yan. Procedures. Hindi. Lalagpasan ko na po ito. Sorry po. Balik nga. Wait lang. I think, mali. Tama pala. Dapat So, for the procedure, na itong number 1, ginawa na po natin ngayon. CR invites Research Unit Editorial Board for a Journal Directive Workshop. Ito na po yun, number 1. Number 2, Research Unit shall call for paper submissions and shall follow the CUR Research Manual and the SOPs of UMREC for choosing the articles to be published. The Research Unit shall compile the approved articles. Your Research Unit, not CUR. Then number 4, they shall lay out for printing the journal and apply for branding approval from CIC for endorsement to ICRD. Ito po yung Makati City Hall. The Research Unit Coordinator of the Origin UMak Academic Unit shall fill out the accomplish the following: AGCPI form, bibigyan po kayo ng kopya niyan. Collate the decision letter from UMREC, yan, of all the articles that will be published. And then, Research Unit Coordinator shall fill out there's another designated Google form for this po. Attaching the consolidated 1 PDF of the accomplished items in number 4 and the journal in its approved form. Title convention shall be journal name, college or institute or center, then school year. Okay. Since we are academic institution, so school year to school year. So right now we are 2022-2023, academic year 22-23. This Google form will automatically notify CUR that you have submitted something. CUR shall review the application. The CUR chair shall release a certification of accreditation or notice of rejection noted by the VPPR within 1 working week. Yan. Upon approval, the applicant research unit may now proceed in publishing their journal. Yun. Okay, anin ko na po yun. Yung Research Congress Policy, halos same lang din po siya ng universitas. So, anin ko lang yan. May presentation specifications po dyan. Pabasa na lang po. Okay? Lalo na po para dun sa mga ma-approve yung kanilang articles for presentation. Please send us PowerPoint online, Google presentation, or Canva. Online po lahat. Why? Kasi ayaw po namin na mangyari na yung last moment edits ng presentation. Tapos hindi yung may binigay kayong copy, tapos hindi pala yun yung yung gagamitin ninyo. So to make sure na nagsisynchronize yung edits ninyo sa sarili ninyong presentation sa copy namin, please give us the link to your presentation. So online, please. Yan. May time limit po na ibibigay. Tapos, kung pwede po, meron po CCIC na template for presentation and we will also provide that one. Yun. Yun. Actually, ito pong na to, this is an example of the template of presentation, but we are actually violating the 7 word per line, 7 lines per slide rule. Okay? Why? Because this will be handouts din, kaya ganito. Pero ideally po kasi dapat 7 words per line, 7 line per slide po ang rule natin pag gumagawa tayo ng presentation. Ayan. Yeah, there shall be questions and answers after the presentation. The time limit will also be set by COR. Usually, I think last year, the presentation is set to 30 minutes, ba? 30 minutes and then 15-minute Q&A. Yun. But let's see po. Okay, ito po. Policy for published and unpublished researches by UMak faculty and administrative officers for promotion purposes. This is also the policy we are following if you want to ask for legitimization ng isang journal para malaman natin to investigate whether a call for paper is actually predatory or not. We are also following this one because we will be using there are 2 Google Forms for this one. Okay. So if you want to be promoted, of course, there is different computation of points for published research papers and unpublished research papers. So yeah. Okay, for published researches, the following are our qualification. Number 1, they must be submitted in PDF to research@umak.edu.ph in their original form as seen published in the research journal issue where it was included. However, if it is not available at hand, it must be submitted in PDF following these specifications. It must be in IMRAD format, again, IMRAD format, APA 7th edition, following the conventions on article formatting and source citation and referencing as provided in the research journal issue it was originally included. I'm sorry, let me correct on that. Kasi there are research journals that don't follow APA 7th edition. Okay, so we would accept naman if it's formatted according to their formatting or convention. Yan. It must use font style Metropolis, size 12, if hindi po ninyo siya isasubmit according to its original format. It must be in letter size, 8.5 by 11. It must have 1-inch margins. It must have the link, ito po yun, gusto ko pong yan, to the research journal website and the ISSN or EISSN of the issue where the article is included. That is our first indicator that it was a published article. If the journal where it was included has ISSN, paano po kung ISBN? I'm sorry po, we do not recognize ISBN. Yan. COR shall not certify as published any articles with research journals that only have ISBN. They shall be then classified as non-published. They must exemplify the rigor of research in formulating the research problem, research design, data collection, and data analysis. They must pass the 15% similarity index of Turnitin, and of course the 5% AI similarity. They must have minimal typographical errors. They must have been published in reputable Scopus and non-Scopus journals for their self-validation. Candidates may request assistance with a list of Scopus articles from our LLC, the library. On the other hand, they shall refer to the CUR policy on non-Scopus research journal recognized by CUR, the one that Carl discussed lately. Yan. They must have been published within the following period of time. Ito pa po yun. Okay? Within the following period of time. Dati po kasi wala nakaset na ganito, so we decided to specify the period of time of publication. For clinical, experimental, and quasi-experimental research, 14 years po yung validity ng research to be said as published. So yan. Kasi iba yung rigor ng ng experimental research. Yan. 5 years for non-clinical, non-experimental, and non-quasi-experimental research. Yan. Beyond 14 years, if the research has been elevated as theory, so malay po natin, di ba? Pagdating ng panahon, isa sa atin dito yung makagawa ng theory. Or scientific law, di ba? Why not? Di ba? So, beyond 14 years po yun. Unless your theory or scientific law has been debunked. Yan. So, of course. We are forward thinking kasi we want that this will happen in the near future. Pag unpublished, okay, ito naman po. Your research is considered unpublished if the purported article was published in a book of abstracts and there was no accompanying research journal issue. Yan. So yan, number 1. Number 2, the purported article was published in a research conference proceeding and there was no accompanying research journal issue. Yan. Tapos po, pag nakita po namin yung ISSN, for example, nandun yung ISSN, tas nakita namin na research congress proceeding ang nakalagay sa ISSN, unpublished siya. Kasi research congress proceeding siya or research, research conference proceeding siya. Hindi siya research journal. So, please lang po. Yan. The purported article was found to be published in a non-reputable research journal as listed by Scopus or the CUR Policy 5 Series 2022-2023. Yung pong kaninang diniscuss ni Carl. The purported article was found to have been published legitimately for more than the acceptable period of time as indicated above. Yan. So, it went beyond the validity period. The purported article was so we are also encouraging you to have these accredited or certified by CUR. Kasi, syempre, sayang din naman to. Please have us certify also your research article published in research journal that only has ISBN. Sayang din yung points eh. Diba? Master's thesis, doctoral dissertation, policy, legislative or government project proposal or needs assessment or report. If you are engaged in government just like I was before, meron tayong ginagawang research for them eh. So have it certified by us, but of course we will keep it, especially for those who are working with the Department of National Defense. Okay. We will keep it as, non-disclosure, di ba? So yun. Policy, NGO needs assessment, report or project proposal. Pwede nyo po yung ipa-certify din sa amin. Pero unpublished nga lang. Yun. Kasi they are basically research. Rejection of research. As published, there is no ISSN or EISSN assigned for the issue of research journal where the purported published research was included. There have been found ethical issues. That's why even if, kaya we are also practicing this in universitas, even if your research has been done, it has been defended, it's a full paper already, it still goes through UMrec review. It's because we want to make sure that when we publish or certify researches, it doesn't have any ethical issues. Yon. So there have been found ethical issues. Number three, there is no evidence of rigor of research. There has been more than 15% similarity index in Turnitin, and also 5%, yun nga, na madadagdag yung 5% AI similarity. There have been found intellectual property rights cases against the research article, yung pa po yun eh. Isa pa po sa mga iniimbestigahan namin, baka merong IPR problem. Yan. There have been found articles that categorically, especially for those who have been elevated as theory or scientific law, there has been found articles that categorically debunk the findings of the research. Yan. Kaya medyo po masakit ang ulo ng, I mean, masakit yung sa ulo yung trabaho ng CUR kasi ito po yung mga ginagawa namin basically. Nag-investigate kami ng mga ganito. Ayan. If you want to have your articles be certified as published or unpublished, ito po yung Google form for it. Meron din pong QR code. So, pwede nyo pong scan yan. Ayun, maraming salamat, sir. Yan, pa-share na lang po. Yan. So, yan. Now, if you want to have a call for paper from outside institutions be legitimized, I mean, for legitimacy check po, ito po rin yung Google form for it. Maraming salamat po sa mga nagre-request na. We are receiving your request for it. Hintay-hintay lang po ng onte, but we will try to inform you whatever we found when you request for legitimacy. Meron na po kasi ongoing ngayon. So, yeah, we will inform you ASAP if ever we found something. Yan. So, yun. Thank you po sa mga nag-picture ng QR code. Yan. Oh, yeah, we will provide this one naman later on. Okay, last one. Oh my God. The last policy. Yes, thank you. Okay, policy on academic integrity in research. Nasabi na po ni Sir kanina, we need to have. When I drafted this policy, I looked for academic integrity policy of UMak itself. I looked for it sa ating student manual and also sa employee manual. Wala po siya, definitely, na nakalagay doon. Walang definite categorical na academic integrity policy ang ating university. And therefore, we are hoping that OVPA later on will have one, okay? And also the student affairs, okay? Please lang po, pa-include po sa student manual. Yan. Pero at least for us in research, meron po tayong, dinefine na po natin yung ating academic integrity in research policy. So medyo nag-quote po tayo ng mga Civil Service Code of Ethics, yan. Lalagpasan ko na po yan. Punta na po tayo sa mismong policy. All these services provided by COR will be affected if we found, ethical issues on your paper. Yan. So, or in the conduct of research. That's why meron pong UMREC because we have to make sure na all researches that we do have integrity. Yan. Let me just go here. Yeah, let's go to the code. UMak reaffirms the following acts of academic integrity in ethics of research. Initiative on research that aims at contributing to the body of knowledge and innovations for the field of study, scientific discipline, or industry, and that benefits the members of the University of Makati and the people of Makati City and the Philippines. Any submission covered by this policy that does not aim for this shall be outrightly rejected by CUR. Yan. Minimum number of references for their review of related literature and the discussion of or analysis of data as set by the colleges. Ito pa po yung trabaho natin as research coordinator. Please, define po for your own purposes how many initial RRL references. Okay? Kasi we cannot define it for you. Okay? CUR cannot impose it na, dapat 100 cited sources for RRL. Ang hirap yata nun, 100, di ba? So, I think for dissertation, it's just logical. Pero I think for undergraduate, medyo sobra ang 100 for RRL, di ba? So, please decide as a research coordinator. Ayan. Kasi kayo rin po yung magsasabi sa inyong mga estudyante niyan. Ayun. So we are leaving it to you. Yan. Asa na ba yun? Granted that the human, electronic, or paper trails are research articles found in Scopus list and passed the CR policy on the list of accredited and recognized non-Scopus journals. Any submission that does not comply with this shall be returned for revisions. So first line of defense kayo po yun. So pag nakita nyo po or ng research advisor na, hindi yata to papasa for this let's pa-revise nyo na po sa mga estudyante. Yan. Failure to verify the credibility of the sources cited in the review of related literature and in the results and discussion, again, return to your students and have them revise. Proper citation of sources on direct quotations and paraphrase statements following APA 7th edition or any citation conventions adopted by you. Yan. Asan ba? By the research advisors, and of course, research advisors have the responsibility to ensure that students comply with the formatting and citation conventions adopted by the university and or their college, school, or institute. CUR reserves the authority to return for revision submissions that fail to comply to this. That's why you have to inform us also. For example, MLA yung inadopt ninyo, tapos pagdating sa amin, nakita, bakit hindi namin alam na, for example, Institute of Pharmacy nag-MLA or nag-Harvard or nag-Turibian. Tapos, bakit hindi kayo naka-APA 7th edition? Hindi nyo naman pala kami in-inform. So, please inform us also. Yan. Para hindi kami malito. Yan. Nasa na ba ako? CR reserves the authority to return for revision and any submission from outside proponents. Full disclosure of research local. Please lang po. We protect human subjects, not the local. Yan. To ensure the credibility of the data gathered. As such, it is the responsibility of the researchers to request to conduct research, especially if it will involve outside organizations, institutes or institutions, agencies, private or government, offices or companies to respect their jurisdiction and possibly their IPR on trademarks as covered or provided by the Intellectual Property Rights Code, RA 8293, or the right to data privacy of such organizations as provided for by Data Privacy Act of 2012. Nonetheless, the research local authorities have the right to invoke their right to privacy and anonymity. Doon lang po natin hindi pwedeng i-disclose yung lokal kung may outright na sinabi yung authorities ng lugar na yon na you cannot say na you conducted the research sa POBLA, diba? Or dito sa BGC, yung ganon. Or yon. For example, sa silo sila diba? Nag-conduct ng research. Tapos, bigla nilang sinabi doon silo. Alam niyo po ba kung ano yung silo? Okay, sa bar dito, malapit lang po yan. O, diba? Tapos, nilagay nila, the respondents are party goers to silo, ganyan. Tapos, nakita ng silo yun. Pwede tayong i-call out ng silo. Okay, so, kaya very important po na maging practice natin na lagi tayong nag-request to conduct research sa other institutes or lokal. Okay, so please lang po. Yan. Now, for that matter, we are happy also to certify those request to conduct research sa ibang mga institutions or organizations or places. Yan. Pwede naming i-note, of course, Sir Rante will note po or endorse that one. Okay. Para pag tinignan nung authority noong lokal na yon, yung request ng mga bata natin, makikita nila, it's legitimate kasi dumaan siya sa Center for University Research. Ayan. Upon approval of request to conduct research as provided for by COR Policy Number 7, internal and external applicants may disclose that their research participants or respondents are from the University of Makati. Yan. On the other hand, if the research locale is not the University of Makati, if UMREC or COR receives a complaint from the authorities of the research locale regarding the use of their organization's name or local government unit's name, without their express consent through their letter or email within the bounds set here, COR shall conduct an investigation and shall file incident report and applicable disciplinary actions. If students, to SDFO. If employee, to HRMO. Okay. Meron po kasi mga nagko-complain din. So, yan. Dahil wala tayong policy, medyo mahirap dati. Ngayon, meron tayong policy. Anonymity of quantitative research respondents and voluntary divulgence of the identity of qualitative research participants. Kasi po, sometimes sa phenomenological research kasi, it is allowed na mag-divulge ng name. Lalo na kung nag-consent si qualitative participants. Okay? So that's why very important po yung informed consent form. Okay? Yun. As such, it is the responsibility of the researcher to ensure that human subjects were properly informed and have fully agreed through the informed consent form following UMREC SOP number 006. If detected by UMREC and or COR, UMREC reserves the authority as per their SOPs for further action in the approval and monitoring of the implementation of the research protocol. COR also has reserved the authority to reject any full paper. If UMREC and or COR receives data privacy breach and privacy infringement from the participants or respondents, UMREC reserves the authority as per their SOPs for their actions in the approval and monitoring of the implementation of the research protocol and also to reject the full paper. Courteous and respectful, I think most of these things are practice na natin. It's just that we have set it on writing na. Okay? So, teka, ano pa ba? Yun, number 8. Let's go here. Full disclosure of ICT software used in the methodology. This then augments and formalizes the provisions of CUR Advisory Number 1, Series of 2022 to 2023, yung sinasabi kanina ni Sir Rante na advisory niya last time. Such software shall only be used in the following aspects of research. Review of related literature writing, only for the search of related research and identifying common themes and codifying. Trinay ko po si ChatGPT for RRL. Okay naman po. It's just that, again, meron po tayong rule na we have to make sure na scopus yung pinanggalingan ng mga yon. Yan. For drafting is okay. Basta ilagay lang po natin sa methodology. Yan. Disclosure lang naman. Data analysis. For the statistical treatment of quantitative data, SPSS. For initial and final analysis or coding of qualitative data in vivo. And the connection or convergence of qualitative and quantitative data in mixed method study, SPSS and in vivo. Please disclose po. Okay. Drafting of the results and discussion of a journal article, drafting lang po or Chapter 4, results and discussion, and Chapter 5, conclusions and recommendations of a thesis for high school research, baccalaureate, and master's or dissertation. Yon. For this one, yung 5% threshold nga. 15% similarity threshold, nasabi na po to kanina. Okay. Yon. Let's go here. Meron ba dito? Number 10. I think this is the last one. Okay. Let me go back to number 9 kasi sinight pala siya. 15% similarity threshold in Turnitin and as endorsed by research units. It is the responsibility of the researcher to have their papers checked by the research unit through you, okay, uh, to CUR for their certificate as provided for by CUR policy number 9. It is to be noted that students, faculty, and all employees of UMak can use for free the Turnitin Draft Coach to experience for themselves how the similarity check works in their own paper. A submission without the said Turnitin certification shall be rejected. Resubmission with the required certification is allowed. COR reserves the authority for full plagiarism check and investigation in the case of submission is still found to violate Turnitin threshold. This also applies if they receive plagiarism allegation or report either from UMREC or from any concerned persons. The following shall be the consequence after the investigation. For employees, CUR shall file an incident report against the employee with the Human Resource Management Office. For students, of course, following Article 64219 plagiarism case following Article 6, Section 6 of the Student Handbook. Full disclosure of authorship and full originality of the paper should be the responsibility of the researcher. Artificial intelligence authorship is not recognized as its use is limited by number 8 of this code. The following unethical practices shall also have the same consequences indicated in number 9 of this code. Paying or use of undisclosed research assistants. Yan. So, ibig sabihin, you have to disclose that you have research assistants. Yan. So, ayun. Plagiarism of copyrighted or non-copyrighted papers, fabrication, tampering, and falsification of data, infringement of intellectual property rights of authors and institutions. Yun. Meron po yung mga nag-contextualize ng mga survey. Yun. Kailangan din po na magpaalam sa authors noon. And we really thank yung mga research advisors and coordinators that are instructing their students to do so. Kasi syempre baka maanuhan tayo ng IPR ng mga authors. Yan. In case of use of LLMS or of course ChatGPT or other such AI, as provided by CR Advisory 1, CR requires its full disclosure and sets the Turnitin percentage similarity threshold for AI-generated text to 5%. Non-disclosure upon detection would mean rejection of the paper. Papers with the disclosure but the similarity goes beyond the threshold may be returned for improvement. Papers with disclosure may be returned for revisions if it is found within the threshold but have chunked similarity texts. Yan. Paano yun? Kasi pwede naman kasi na magkakahiwa-hiwalay. Okay? Nakascatter yung similarity. Madetect po kasi ni Turnitin. Kung i-highlight niya yung mga na-try na namin last time. Na yung AI generated na nakatawag dito, nakascatter, tapos naka-chunk. So, yon. Don't worry naman po, ipapabalik lang naman. Papers with disclosure will be approved if they are within or below the threshold, even if it has similarities, if those are scattered. Yan. So, hindi po namin pinagbabawal ang paggamit ng ChatGPT. Okay? Kasi po talagang, especially for us who are, and for those who are planning to have their grad school further for PhD and so on, ang hirap pong magsulat, di ba? So, maraming salamat at may mga naka-imbento na mga ganito. Kasi they could help us. It's just that we want still for us to practice our own higher order of thinking in writing. Okay? Kasi it's still up to us, researchers, especially if we are academicians, to ensure na credible yung mga data na nakukuha natin through ChatGPT. So, wag lang po tayong, may mga naririnig po ako ng mga estudyante na kala nila hindi namin naririnig. Pag we were passing by 9th floor, tapos nakuha mo na yung sa ChatGPT. Yeah. As some of the members of UMREC has expressed, we are still an academic institution and we need to teach our students to use their higher order of thinking by just copying and pasting things that that are generated by ChatGPT and other AI tools like that. It's not really practicing or developing the higher order of thinking. We need to help them analyze pa rin. We need to help them assess those information that they get, and we have to ensure that when they write, they could propose um, generalizations of data through those things that they gathered. Okay? So, and that's why maraming salamat po, research coordinators and also those who are teaching research like me, for accepting your job, because that's our job. You know, helping our students have that or have those skills. Higher order of thinking is really hard to develop. With all these technologies that we have, there's really a prone for all of us, not just our students, to be really tamad, di ba? Sayang. Sabi nga ni Sheldon Cooper, the robot uprising will come to us if we are not going to be smart. Okay? Sorry. Okay, so let's be human pa rin. Okay? Let's help our students become well-developed human beings. Okay? Sabi nga ni Aristotle, what separates us from the other animals is that we are rational beings. And through us, research teachers, research coordinators, and of course with the coordination of the UMREC and CUR, we could help them develop that rationality. Higher order of thinking lang yan. Okay. Teka lang po. Check. Yes, and again, let me remind everyone, April 30. Ayun. Yun. Maraming salamat po. Again, this is Sir Vincent.
Thank you, Sir Vincent, for your discussion and the closing remarks. Okay, so the floor is now open for your questions. If you have questions, please feel free to go there so the camera will capture you as part of the recording. And thank you, ma'am. Si Ma'am Kay. Ma'am, sorry. While we're doing this, in the spirit of time, to utilize our time more efficiently, I will pass around the acknowledgement form. So this acknowledgement form po is approved by the management committee. So let me read it for you guys. By signing below, I hereby acknowledge that I have completely read and fully understand the Center for University Policy Updates and Guidelines discussed in the session. So the policies are indicated. As the research coordinator, I acknowledge that I have an affirmative duty to. So these are your duties. Number 1, relay and disseminate these policies to my co-faculty members within 2 weeks after the research directive session I attended this April 20. Number 2, submit the acknowledgement form signed by my co-faculty members to the CUR office 2 weeks after the research directive session. And the copy of policies link, it's indicated here as well. So I'll pass this around, and the only person that needs to sign this is the research coordinator po, or faculty that handles research. Okay? And after that, I will distribute the acknowledgement form that you would need to use in order for you, after you have disseminated it or discuss it to your co-worker, co-faculty worker, they need to sign this as well. Thank you. Sorry, Ma'am Kay, go ahead po.
Teka, sobrang taas yung mic. Sobrang vertically challenged tayo na. Anyway, so sir, clarification lang for our department kasi nga I think I went to your office last time. because there's a problem with some of the policies, it's not going to be applicable for us because the forms are more or less for thesis. Our problem is that uh, most of our subjects are all research driven and of course requires human participants. So we have experimental psychology. The one that I'm teaching right now, psychological assessment, wherein they need to make tests, requires human participants. So ang problema namin, paano kami mag-a-adjust with that? Ano pa bang subjects namin? Social psychology also, they are required to make simple studies. Field methods, qualitative. Uh, Psikolohiyang Pilipino, also qualitative approach. And also psychological statistics to apply the quantitative research method. So, ang problem kasi namin, since it's only one semester, do the students have to go the rigorous process of securing permits, those things? Kasi sobrang dugo niya. And then another thing is that you mentioned the use of SPSS. So right now, I'm asking my student to use Jamovi because it's the free software, statistical software. And then direct na nilang magagawa yung item analysis for psychometrics. So will that be allowed by your center? Yun yung concerns kasi namin. Aside from the policies, applications of the policies for our subjects.
Okay po. Maraming salamat po, ma'am, kasi you are raising that question also in this forum kasi at least we could also tell the others what will happen. As I think Sir Mark lately discussed, there are 3 types of review of UMREC. Exempted, ibig sabihin hindi na i-review. Expedited, which only needs like 5 working days for the review. And then the full review, which according to SOP will last the most is 1 month of review, which is not applicable for your subject. Okay, as we told you, and this is to also to inform everyone that if your subject needs review from UMREC, kasi nga it will involve human subject and just like ma'am's subjects. It is research driven, they still need to pass through UMREC, of course. However, we didn't anticipate kasi that the existence of such subject. And that's why, thank you ma'am, because we're going to tweak the form to include such subjects na rin. Okay? But since we have the expedited review, we will be doing the expedited review for such studies. So mabilis lang, mas mabilis siya kaysa yung full review na talaga pong tatagal siya eh.
Sobrang rigorous.
Oo,
Yeah,
super rigorous 'yon. So you just need to submit. I think we have already told you, and also we are informing everyone. Instead of the research protocol listed on the Google form, just submit the plan, the study plan for your students' researches. I mean, for the creation of the test, if that's and also, of course, the ICF, please submit that also. Yun lang naman po siya. Now, about the use of SPSS, yes, sir. For the SPSS, we are allowing naman if you're not going to use SPSS. Kasi the policy is only informing everyone that this service is available and this is the amount of money that they need to pay for CR to help them.
Okay. And then, second question, sorry. Pinapatanong kasi ng boss ko. The second question is, meron kasi kaming yearly research festival. I'm sure you were aware of that. So do we have to also inform you and have the papers that will be joining our research festival reviewed as well by your center?
Not by the center, but by UMREC.
By UMREC, sorry.
Yes, the requirement is for all research articles produced in UMak be reviewed by UMREC to ensure quality and ethical standard.
Okay.
So, Sir Rante will answer also.
And of course, we also rely on your expertise, ma'am,
Yes,
in
po.
your center, in your college, to review it first
Yes, po.
before you submit it for UMREX.
Yes.
So that there is a filter already on your level,
Mhm.
then another for UMREC. And then eventually, if it is a full paper, for CUR. Yeah,
Okay.
thank
sige.
you.
Thank you po.
And also, please, we really encourage you, ma'am, and the COS to have your own journal kasi talagang makakatulong sa ating ranking yun eh. Yan. Yes, Sir Ray.
Hello. This is not a question, but rather I'll be sharing some of my experience in reviewing research. What's important to establish ethical uh, validity of your paper is you establish the confidentiality when it comes to data gathering. Kasi yung mga data gathering natin na involving students, teka, naano ko sa pag-akyat dito. Hiningal ako. I usually parang we are not considering the confidentiality of the participants' responses, especially if you are videoing them for their responses. So, isa yun sa mga consideration ng ethicality. Dapat i-establish dun sa paper na you have handled that. Handled and established and clearly put in your paper how you assured confidentiality of the responses. Yun lang.
Yes po, very important po yun. Especially if you're doing qualitative research. Yun. Case study lalo na. Most of the time, if you're going to handle case study research, case researches, there will be very, very sensitive information that your participants will be divulging. And that's why very important that your ICF would detail how you're going to sort what can be divulged and what cannot be divulged. Yon. Yes, ma'am, I saw your hand.
Hello po, good afternoon.
Good afternoon po.
I'm just curious po kasi I have come across with Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and I've been trying to research on that kung ano, hindi ako masyadong nalilinawan kung paano malaman if a specific journal is under Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. How would we be able to know that po?
Okay, in the congress that we have conducted, I think 2 years or 3 years ago, we have taught the faculty step-by-step procedure to find if a journal is in Q1, Q2, or 3 or 4. And if you want to access again the video, I think I have given that to TBL. And I will also request the, what do you call your office? The CIC to post it again in the UMak website
Yes, sir.
for
Thank you.
your help.
Thank you po,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
I have other questions pa po.
Please.
Just for clarifications po kasi. Although I'm not teaching research right now, but you know, I always apply or I strictly implement academic honesty in my classes po, even though it's just academic papers.
Very good, ma'am.
So my question po is, we have like a 15% threshold
Yeah,
in
precisely.
Turnitin po. Do we include directly cited sources po in the 15% threshold that we have?
Everything will be included in the Turnitin. If it is properly cited, it will not be red flagged. Okay? If it is not, it will be red flagged. Your title can also be included, but the Turnitin coordinator, or the one in charge of doing the checking, can actually
Remove.
exclude those flags, the red flags. So because you can readily see if it should not be included. All right.
So you do not take off the include yung parang on the right side po
Yeah,
kasi
so
meron
don't
dong
worry
naka-
about
ano,
that.
direct quote.
You will
Hindi
only
direct quotation
be
ang term eh.
red flagged if you did not code it
Yes, sir.
appropriately. Yeah.
Definitely po.
That's why
kasi,
you will be reminded to improve your work.
Kasi po, on the right side of the Turnitin website, you could see there exclude I forgot the exact term, but it's actually referring to the directly cited sources. Kasi po, if we're not going to tick it off, tendency is it will be added on the similarity
So don't worry
report.
about that
Apo.
because
So we can tick it para mabawasan po yung
it depends.
similarity.
Yeah. Because sometimes it will also be 100% detected. The similarity check is 100%. You know why? Because you have submitted the same paper to another university.
Yes, sir.
But now, how are we going to assess that? So it is now your responsibility as a researcher to call the university where your paper has been subjected for Turnitin check, so that the coordinator there, the administrator, will remove the paper, and I will, in our center, we will check it again. And
Kasi on my standpoint po, kapag sa mga bata ko po kasi, kapag naka directly cited naman po siya, as long as there is a citation, properly cited naman po siya, then it should be disregarded po.
again, you don't need to disregard, because if it is appropriately cited, it will not be red flagged. I can assure you that.
No sir, kapag ano po sa Turnitin, unless may ititik ka doon.
Based from our experience, we have checked 300 papers or 400 papers already.
Okay sir, but I also check. Anyway po, yun po. Which leads to my next question po. So, we talked about plagiarism earlier. What constitutes our basis for tagging someone na nag-plagiarize siya ng trabaho niya po? Do we just focus on the results of the Turnitin?
That is one way. Another way is, in my case, in my experience, what I do is, aside from the Turnitin, when I have doubts on the integrity of the paper, I will even Google check it. So, for example, the first sentence in your paragraph, I will type that, and voila, Google will provide you with all the places where you can see the same sentence that the researcher used. And then you can go to these places and check how it is similar to the one that you have.
Kasi po, I tried it in Grammarly, Turnitin po, pareho. Usually po, halimbawa, nag 20% siya. Pero the results na nire-report niya, 1%, 1%, or less than 1%. And if you're going to check the reported similarity report, makikita nyo po na phrases or words or sentences lang, not sometimes does not have an exact relation to the topic that you are actually writing. Nagkataon lang na pareho kayo ng construction ng sentence.
Yeah, that is my task. If I am the one checking it, if I see that that is happening, then I will not count it against you. So don't worry about it.
May mga ano naman po, may
Don't
mga
worry
leeway
about
naman
that.
po siya.
Okay.
Last question po regarding AI po. Kasi I read, inaral ko po si Turnitin AI detection tool. And
When did you do that?
just recently, during the Holy Week.
Okay,
Ayan
good.
po. Yun yung ginawa kong
And what happened?
ninilay-nilay. Ayon. And I found out that according to one of the videos na nasa Turnitin is meron yung similar, madedetect niya na may AI daw po based on some structure ng sentence, repeated words or phrases or something like that. And inamin din po nila na the Turnitin AI detector is actually mas ginagamit nila for professional writers or first language speakers. With language learners or even for us second language speakers of the English language, tendency is po na yung mga pre-identified nilang signs that it is written by an AI ay usually are the usual errors of second language learners when it comes to writing. We only have a 5% threshold for that po. And according to them, yun yung something na wino-work out nila as of the moment. Besides the fact na pang-English lang, limited pa lang sa English ang kaya nilang gawin. So, paano po yun? Since mas vulnerable tayo na magtunog AI yung trabaho natin because of, yun nga, yung sinabi nila. How are we going to deal with that po kaya?
All right, good. My answer to that is not based from Marites, but based from the use of Turnitin, okay? I have attended 2 seminars sponsored by Turnitin, and we have actually discussed these things, also based from fake news and Marites' pronouncements, no? And for your information, the detection of AI-generated text only started on April 5. All right? So right now, if you will use Turnitin, because I have used it myself, and I have found out that it can really detect AI-generated text. Okay? So my answer is based from facts, because I have made use of it right now. If you use Turnitin before April 5, chances are it will not be able to detect AI text.
According to the website po, hindi ko magagamit siya kasi it's only for teachers yata.
I think you have to give me
Opo.
your sources.
Turnitin website po.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
look for
And you should have attended also the Turnitin sponsored webinars.
I was there din po. And I
because
also
there were a
attended
lot
other
of
seminars.
questions about that. Yeah.
Yung
Right now you can
seminars
use
po,
you can use Turnitin, and I can assist you in the center and for you to find how it is being detected. Yeah. Thank you. I hope I answered it. Thank you.
I also do believe na kasi kanina when we were checking it, Carl and I, the Turnitin detected his own words as AI generated. So that is why very important din sa atin. Kaya hindi masyadong punta agad sa HRMO or punta agad sa Student Discipline Office yung sanction. It's because it's really our academic duty as teachers to talk to our students. Turnitin detected this way. Baka naman can you please explain? And as teachers, di ba, ako bilang teacher din, our familiarity on the writing style of our students din Doon din natin makikita, hindi. This is not really AI generated because this student has been consistently writing this way, and therefore, it is his or her own writing style. So that's why very important for us as teachers to really know our students when we are checking their papers. Even though sinabi ni Turnitin, di ba? Kasi that's also one possibility. We also recognize that one. That's why, again, it's our academic duty as teachers. Ayun po. Yes, Sir Mark.
And ma'am, just to add, regarding the 5% po, the way on how it's actually computed, it's for the entire articles. Opo. So meaning, you are allowed to have like 2 AI generated out of 20 words. I think that's how math works. So I mean, in terms of computation, no? So ganun po. So we allow 5% po, ma'am. So that's how it's actually computed. Thank you, ma'am. Any more questions po? Sir, before we continue, we have the signatories na po for for the acknowledgement form, but we don't have representative po from CTM, CCIS, CHK, and SOL. No one is teaching research po ba? Yung kanina pong nagtaas ng kamay na CCIS po, nawala sila. Nag-research na. CTM po, CTM. Si Sir Par. Ayan si Sir. Ano pong department? CTM, okay. Tapos si Sir Will, andito na. CHK. CHK po. Hello po. Sir, you have a question, no? Maybe this is the Sir Sichon. Yung kanina po, we talked about
Hi sir, good afternoon po. Sir, with regards dun sa appointment kasi, since ang pagkakaalam namin, ang appointment ng research coordinator, dapat faculty. Paano yung yung mga designee, sir? Kasi pag admin duties ka na.
Opo. So siguro po, paki-disseminate na rin po sa mga faculty
Yes, sir.
ninyo.
Okay, sir.
Yung pong Although nabigyan naman po ng kopya na soft copy.
Meron
ang
naman
bawat
sir
isa.
sa email.
Kaya lang maski na po ganon, sorry po kung makulit kami kasi we were told by the Mancom to make sure na everybody knows the newly approved policies. Kaya po umihingi po talaga kami ng tulong sa inyo kasi po ayaw namin dumating sa situation na sasabihin ni faculty sa amin, hindi namin alam yan, bakit may ganyan, mga ganon. 20 years na ako sa UMak, my God. Alam ko na yung mga ganyang statement
Yes,
of the
sir.
problem. So,
Thank
pero
you, sir.
just the same, we have a proof that we have already sent all the policies to each employee, so wala nang argument about it. Pangalawa, nag-public forum na po rin kami, this one, so that we are assured that you will also be disseminating the same to to our colleagues, okay? Tapos pangatlo, isasama ko rin po ito sa printed research manual 2023 para po bigyan. Sa tingin ko, meron akong reason to tell the Mancom na, ayan, nagawa ko na po siguro yung dissemination. Ngayon, kasi parang wala pa rin, kulang pa daw yon. My God, ano pa ba ang kulang? Isulat ko kaya sa mga noon ng faculty yung mga policies. Joke lang. Yun lang po. May question si Sir Dagum. Thank you.
Good afternoon po. Hindi ko alam kung ano to sir, kung question or a recommendation. Yun lang pong paglalagay sir ng Turnitin sa TBL Hub. I think hindi po kasi siya nandoon pa. So parang mas okay po yata na after submission ng ng activity ng mga students. So diretso na siya agad na turn it in. So yun po. So hindi ko po alam kung sa inyo po or sa TBL
Maganda
Hub
po
siya
yun na ilagay sa
Thank you po.
TBL Hub. No? Pero kahit hindi po natin ilagay, kapag meron pong ang estudyante ninyo ng UMak email, or kayo po na faculty na may UMak email, you can have the Turnitin Drop Coach. It is a coach, meaning you can practice already the use of Turnitin using that even without asking us or asking your research coordinator to do it for you. And I tell you, the result, that similarity check that will be provided by the Turnitin Draft Coach will also be the same that will be provided by the Turnitin software. So what is my point there? My point is your students can already improve the paper that they have written. They just have to be taught how to use the Turnitin Drop Coach. Actually, bubuksan lang nila yung Gmail nila, no? UMak email pala, not the Gmail. And then Google, ano yun? And then the Google Docs, and then may click-click lang po doon, lalabas yung Turnitin Drop Coach. Pwede nyo pong sabihin sa students nyo, kahit yung simple essay, magagamit nila yon. Tapos kung kailangan nyo po ng certification of the Turnitin, halimbawa kayo, nagamit nyo na yung Drop Coach. So kapag sinubmit nyo na po sa amin yon, 2% na lang halimbawa yung lumabas, 2% din yung lalabas doon sa Turnitin. So i-issue na lang po namin yung certification. Di po ba napakaganda? It can help you with your students' work. Yun po. We also requested that, by the way, as a Turnitin. Lahat na po ng request ginagawa namin. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions po? Sino po yung mga nag-sign na sa acknowledgement form? Can you raise your hands po? Sa acknowledgement form. Ayan po. So, SAs will actually give you the acknowledgement form that you can use to have your co-faculty to sign. Ayan po. 2 weeks po ha. We will expect it after 2 weeks from now. Hindi po, sir. 2 weeks from now po. So 2 weeks from now, you need to disseminate it in that 2 weeks po. Within the 2 weeks po. So within 2 weeks, disseminate the information. After 2 weeks, babalik niyo po. Please make sure po that you receive the copy. So, do you still have any questions po? Di po kasi siya AIP, so... Sa Congress, ma'am, we'll give you all the best merienda in the world. Of course, ma'am. Wala na pong questions? Okay. Last na. Gusto ko talaga ensure to. Sila, sir, sa CCIS po, nakapirman. Wala pa rin?
And one more pala, yung pong financial grant policy na diniscuss, it will only be effect, kasi naisip ko yung mag-graduate ngayong taon na to. Hindi sila magkwa-qualify doon. Kasi kailangan, the moment you have your COR tawag doon, no? Ng dissertation writing or thesis writing, magsusulat ka na po sa akin sa research that you have the intention of availing the financial grant. Ngayon, paano yung tapos na ngayong taon? I mean, yung graduation niya ay next month na. Tapos, kailangan after a month, maka-apply ka within that month. Kung hindi, hindi ka na pwede. So, ang nilagay ko po dun sa policy, yung pong lumang policy sa financial grant ay pwede pa rin ngayong taon para sa graduate ngayon. Kung sakali naman na next year kayo graduate ng PhD or EDD or MA, whatever. Dapat ngayon na, sumulat na kayo sa akin, kung papalabasin ko na lang na you will provide the COR that you have already applied for that. Para ma-process ko siya next year, kung tapos na kayo, I have a proof na tapos yung UMrek din, dapat dumaan din kayo doon. I mean, the first 3 chapters, kailangan ma-check ni UMrek. Alright? Yes. Yes. No, as pag may COR ka na, as I said earlier, magsusulat ka na ng intention. This is to express my intention to avail of the financial grant for my thesis. Ganun lang naman kasimple. So there's already a proof. You know why? Kasi maisasama ko siya sa AIP. Kasi di ba ipinaprocess yon ahead of time. So alam ko na 5 ang kailangan kong slot sa graduate ng MA, 5 ang graduate ng doctorate, para hindi tayo nasisisi ni Mayora na hindi nyo nagamit tong 3 na slots. Kasi hinulaan ko lang yon. Kasi inassume ko lang na itong si Pedro, si Tekla, graduate siya ngayon. Eh syempre knowing writing a dissertation, minsan it will take you 10 years bago mo matapos. So, yun lang. Chika lang. Sorry. Salamat po.
Thank you po. So, one more question po. Wala na. All right. So before we end the session, I just want to inform you that all the Google Forms indicated in these policies will be uploaded po sa UMak website as well as the CUR's Facebook page. Please allow us until next week to upload. All right. Thank you so much for your time and God bless.